Imagine a different kind of Bible, not the one commonly known, but one that reveals astonishing secrets of Christian history. These secrets, so profound and significant, were kept hidden for centuries. This unusual Bible includes 88 books, unlike the traditional 66 books found in most Christian texts. It features writings that were once banned, suppressed, and considered too dangerous by the early leaders of the Church. Why were these texts hidden? Inside these forbidden pages lie mysteries about fallen angels, the Nephilim, and apocalyptic prophecies that describe the end of the world in unfamiliar ways. These books could also unveil hidden wisdom about the ongoing cosmic battle between good and evil, intricate details about the hierarchies in heaven, and the pivotal roles of angels and demons in the destiny of humankind. Today, we're diving into the hidden books of the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, a collection brimming with mysterious texts that have remained largely unknown to much of the Christian world for centuries. But why were these particular books excluded? What was it about these texts that made Western church leaders uneasy enough to leave them out of the familiar Bible? Stick with me, and by the end of this video, you'll grasp the real reasons why these books were seen as so threatening, along with the incredible insights they offer that might just transform your understanding of the Bible. Let's start here. While many Christians are familiar with the Christian Standard Bible, or the King James Bible, which includes 66 books, 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible boasts an impressive total of 88 books. Yes, you heard right, 22 additional books. These aren't mere appendices or extra commentaries. These are full-scale sacred writings that were once celebrated but later excluded from mainstream Christian texts. Many of these books were integral to early Jewish and Christian communities, cherished and used for centuries. They feature prophecies, cosmic visions, and narratives from the ancient world that are absent from other scriptures. However, these texts were ultimately deemed too controversial, too mystical, or too deeply rooted in Jewish traditions by early church councils, especially following the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Ethiopia's ties to the Bible extend much deeper than many realize. Long before European colonization and the spread of Christianity through the Roman Empire, the ancient kingdom of Ethiopia had already established a spiritual tradition deeply connected to the Bible. Ethiopian Christianity traces its origins back to the 4th century, when the Kingdom of Aksum declared Christianity as its official religion. Remarkably, Ethiopia was among the first countries in the world to embrace Christianity, centuries before it took root in many Western nations. From that period, the Bible, penned in Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian language, became a cornerstone of Ethiopian religious practice. Yet, Ethiopia's biblical connections likely reach even further back, predating Christianity itself. Ancient Ethiopian traditions tell us that this connection began with the Queen of Sheba, who journeyed from Ethiopia to Jerusalem to meet King Solomon around the 10th century BC. While this encounter is briefly mentioned in the Western Bible, Ethiopian law elaborates significantly on it. According to the Ethiopian Bible, the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon had a son, Menelik II, who would ascend as Ethiopia's first emperor. The narrative takes an even more fascinating turn as it claims that Menelik brought the Ark of the Covenant, yes, the very Ark that housed the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, back to Ethiopia. For Ethiopians, this was not merely a historical event, but a divine mission. Their tradition holds that God chose Ethiopia to safeguard the Ark of the Covenant, forging a sacred link between Ethiopia's spiritual journey and Israel's hallowed history. With such a deep-rooted connection to biblical teachings, it's no wonder that Ethiopia emerged as a spiritual bastion, a nation that not only adopted Christianity early on, but also became the custodian of ancient scriptures that were later excluded by other Christian traditions. Shielded from Western European influences, Ethiopia continued to cherish these sacred texts within its Orthodox Bible. These books remained integral to Ethiopian religious practices for centuries, even as they gradually disappeared from the Western Christian canon. This leads us to ponder, why were these texts left out of the Standard Bible? The reasons are as intricate as they are intriguing. Some texts were excluded because they presented ideas considered too mystical or speculative for the early church. For instance, the Book of Enoch offers detailed accounts of celestial beings, fallen angels, and the Nephilim, enigmatic giants born from the union of humans and angels. These apocalyptic revelations explore the mysteries of heaven and hell, the nature of sin, and the final judgment, deemed too controversial for early Christian endorsement. Additionally, some books, like Jubilees and the Maccabees, were excluded for their strong adherence to Jewish customs. These books emphasize strict observance of Jewish laws, such as the Sabbath, dietary regulations, and circumcision, at a time when the burgeoning Christian church was striving to differentiate itself from Judaism. Consequently, these texts were viewed as undermining the emerging Christian identity, posing a threat to its distinctiveness and unity. Indeed, some of these texts were perceived as a challenge to the orthodoxy, the consistent doctrine that the early church was determined to establish. Church leaders were concerned that including these books in the canon might promote varied theological interpretations, especially concerning the roles of angels, the nature of the afterlife, and the specifics of God's divine judgment. Keeping these books within the Bible's official texts risked encouraging heretical views or fostering divisions within the nascent church. This fear of doctrinal disarray and the potential for schism motivated the exclusion of these texts, as the church aimed to present a unified theological front to its followers. During the colonial era, European powers, particularly Italy, saw the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible as a threat. This Bible wasn't just a religious text, it was a symbol of Ethiopia's spiritual bond with Israel and the early Christian world, representing a form of resistance against European attempts to impose their religious and cultural norms. The unique aspects of the Ethiopian Bible were seen as undermining to the colonial agenda, which aimed to quell Ethiopian religious autonomy and enforce Western doctrines. So, what exactly are the secrets held within these suppressed texts? Why were they feared by Western church leaders? Perhaps these ancient writings hold prophecies, describe celestial entities, and detail apocalyptic events that are considered too profound and unsettling. This deep dive into biblical narratives is not just educational, it's thrilling. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video if you're eager to uncover more about the Bible's concealed mysteries. To grasp why the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible includes numerous books omitted from the conventional Christian texts, it's essential to recognize Ethiopia's distinct historical and religious role in the context of both the Bible and early Christianity. In the 4th century AD, while much of the world was still on the brink of embracing Christianity, the Kingdom of Aksum, located in present-day Ethiopia, was at the forefront as one of the earliest nations to declare Christianity its state religion. This pivotal moment entrenched Ethiopia's reputation as a bastion of Christian faith, marking it as one of the longest-standing Christian nations in the world. But how did Ethiopia arrive at this religious milestone? Contrary to common assumptions that attribute the spread of Christianity in Ethiopia to European missionaries, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church credits its origins to the biblical account of the Apostle Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch. As narrated in Acts 8:26-40, This high-ranking Ethiopian official encountered Philip, received baptism, and returned to Ethiopia imbued with the Christian doctrine, thereby igniting the initial flames of the Ethiopian Christian tradition. Over the subsequent centuries, what began as a nascent movement burgeoned into the official religion of the formidable kingdom of Aksum. Christianity was entrenched through the Coptic Church of Alexandria, which facilitated the translation of the Bible into Ge'ez, Ethiopia's ancient script. As Christianity permeated the Aksumite Empire, the Ethiopian canon didn't just incorporate the standard 66 books found in most Bibles. It also embraced a broader spectrum of Jewish and early Christian texts. Many of these texts, deemed too mystical or controversial, or too deeply rooted in Jewish practices, were later excluded or even banned by the Western Church. Nevertheless, Ethiopia preserved these texts, maintaining them as integral parts of its rich spiritual legacy. The early embrace of Christianity allowed Ethiopia to maintain a distinct spiritual independence apart from the rest of the Christian world. While the Roman Empire and the Western Church were busy setting a unified biblical canon, Ethiopia stayed somewhat detached from these controversies. This autonomy enabled the preservation of ancient traditions and texts, enriching the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible with not just the standard books of the Old and New Testaments, but also additional texts that provide deeper insights into early Jewish and Christian theologies. Ethiopia's connection to biblical history, however, extends well beyond the early Christian era. To fully appreciate this, we must delve much further back, about 1,000 years before Christ, according to Ethiopian tradition. Central to this deeper historical link is the figure of the Queen of Sheba, a significant yet briefly mentioned character in the Western Bible, appearing in 1 Kings 10, 1-13 and 2 Chronicles 9. These texts recount her journey from the distant land of Sheba, considered by Ethiopians to encompass parts of modern-day Ethiopia and Yemen, to visit King Solomon in Jerusalem. While the Western Bible offers only a concise account of her visit, the Ethiopian narrative provides a much more detailed and enriched version of the events, highlighting the profound interactions and exchanges between the Queen and King Solomon. This story not only underscores Ethiopia's rich biblical ties, but also illustrates its unique and enduring heritage within the broader biblical world. According to the Kibra Nagast, a seminal Ethiopian text pivotal to both the nation's identity and spiritual heritage, an intriguing narrative unfolds about the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. In Ethiopia, the queen is known as Makeda, and her liaison with Solomon led to the birth of Menelik, who would ascend as the first emperor of Ethiopia. The tale grows even more captivating with the claim that Menelik, upon reaching adulthood, traveled to Jerusalem to meet his father, Solomon. During this significant visit, a momentous event occurred that would mark Ethiopian spiritual and historical narratives forever. Menelik is said to have returned to Ethiopia with none other than the Ark of the Covenant. This isn't just any artifact, but a profoundly sacred chest believed to hold the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, a central symbol of divine presence and covenant in biblical tradition. According to Ethiopian law, the Ark of the Covenant has been safeguarded within Ethiopia for centuries, underscoring the country's deep and enduring connection to biblical history and its sacred legacies. Ethiopia's profound bond with the sacred history of Israel has significantly influenced its Christian traditions. For Ethiopians, the Ark of the Covenant isn't just a religious artifact. It symbolizes a divine mandate that connects Ethiopia directly to Israel, the chosen people of God. This perception positions Ethiopia not as a marginal player, but as a pivotal force in the divine scheme of the world, a nation entrusted with the duty to safeguard the Ark and uphold the ancient biblical truths. While Western Christianity focused on defining and refining the biblical canon, Ethiopia preserved a comprehensive collection of early Christian and Jewish writings. Additionally, due to its geographical separation from Europe, Ethiopia managed to avoid the influence of the Council of Nicaea's resolutions concerning the biblical canon. The Council of Nicaea in 325 AD marked a critical turning point for Christianity within the Roman Empire. At this council, church leaders convened to establish Christian doctrines and to determine which texts should be included in the Bible. The Western Church started to craft a Bible that omitted texts considered too Jewish, too mystical, or too speculative, such as the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, and the Maccabees, due to their complex descriptions of angels or their strong adherence to Jewish laws. However, Ethiopia remained largely unaffected by these decisions due to its strong ties to its Coptic Christian roots. This connection enabled Ethiopia to retain a broader spectrum of biblical writings. Consequently, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible contains not just the 66 books found in the Standard Christian Bible, but also an additional 22 books that were excluded or banned from the Western canon. Thus, Ethiopia has become a bastion of spirituality, preserving ancient traditions without the influence of Western European theological shifts. This unique preservation is why the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible differs significantly from those used by most of the Christian world today. It is a direct lineage to the early Christian era, largely untouched by the theological debates and political maneuvers that shaped the Western Bible. The inclusion of banned and excluded texts in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible is more than just a historical oddity. It serves as a reminder of the diverse interpretations that once existed about what should be part of the Bible, highlighting that texts discarded by the Western Church still carry deep spiritual meaning. Take, for example, the Book of Enoch, which provides a detailed account of fallen angels, their interactions with humans, and their ultimate judgment. This text significantly shaped early Christian views on the nature of evil and the concept of the end times. Similarly, the Book of Jubilees offers a Jewish interpretation of biblical history, enriching our understanding with new details about the patriarchs and the role of angels in human affairs. These writings allow us to explore a forgotten chapter of Christian history, a time when theological ideas were still forming and the limits of orthodoxy were yet to be defined. For Ethiopia, these texts were never excluded. They have remained integral to its religious practice, held in equal esteem with the canonical texts of the Old and New Testaments. So, why were these books ultimately banned? The decision to exclude them was not merely theological, but was also influenced by political and cultural dynamics. Initially, their exclusion was driven by their mystical content, which delved into deeply spiritual and speculative realms that challenged the prevailing theological norms. This section delves into the intricate reasons these books were sidelined by early Christian authorities, and why Ethiopia continued to uphold their value. Numerous prohibited texts, including the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, delve into esoteric themes, focusing on the celestial realm, the order of angels, and their interactions with humans. The Book of Enoch, for example, provides a detailed description of the Watchers, a group of fallen angels who came down to earth, mingled with humans, and caused widespread moral decay through their offspring, the Nephilim. These rebellious angels not only defied God, but also taught humans forbidden knowledge, such as the techniques of warfare, magic, and astrology. These narratives diverge significantly from the straightforward theme of salvation that predominates in the Western Bible. Particularly after the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, the Western Church regarded these speculative teachings with skepticism, considering them distractions from the fundamental principles of the Christian faith, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Early Christian leaders were concerned that a heavy focus on angels, cosmic conflicts, and apocalyptic events might lead believers to mystical interpretations of the Scriptures, shifting their focus away from the central message of salvation. This preoccupation with speculative theology led to the exclusion of texts like the Book of Enoch from the Western canon, despite its popularity among early Christian groups such as the Essenes, a Jewish sect thought to have influenced early Christianity. While texts like Enoch provided deep insights into spiritual realms and the downfall of angels, the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches ultimately deemed these books overly speculative about the unseen world. In contrast, Ethiopian Christianity did not see these texts as distractions, but as crucial to understanding the ongoing spiritual conflict between good and evil. Ethiopian Christians embraced the mystical aspects of these texts, which they believed illuminated the heavenly realm and the mysterious ways of God's creation. Additionally, the banning of certain books was influenced by their strong connections to Jewish traditions. Texts like the Book of Jubilees and the Maccabees stressed strict observance of Jewish laws, such as Sabbath keeping, circumcision, and dietary rules. Written during a period when Judaism and what would become Christianity were not distinctly separated, these books underscored the importance of adhering to the Mosaic law. For instance, the Book of Jubilees, also known as Little Genesis, not only recounts the biblical history from creation to the giving of the law at Mount Sinai, but also expands on the narratives found in Genesis and Exodus. The Book of Jubilees emphasizes the perpetual significance of Jewish festivals, the Sabbath, and ritual purity, asserting that these practices are eternally mandatory. It also introduces a solar calendar with a 364-day year, which it claims was the original calendar God intended for the Jewish people, contrasting with the later adopted lunar calendar. As Christianity evolved, it sought to distinguish itself from Judaism, aiming to be more inclusive of Gentiles, which involved a shift away from stringent Jewish customs and laws. The Apostle Paul notably advocated for liberation from these laws, preaching that salvation was achieved through faith in Christ, rather than adherence to the Mosaic law. In the formation of the Western Church, texts that heavily emphasized Jewish laws, such as Jubilees and Maccabees, were viewed as outdated remnants. However, Ethiopia maintained a profound connection with these texts. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which claims its origins from King Solomon through Menelik, son of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, has always intertwined its Christian practices with Jewish traditions, seeing no reason to sever these ties. Consequently, these texts are still integral to the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, enriching the Ethiopian tradition with a blend of Old Testament law and the Christian message of salvation. In Ethiopia, the Maccabees are especially venerated, whereas in Western Christianity, they are generally relegated to the Apocrypha. Ethiopia continues to honor these texts as vital accounts of Jewish resistance and fidelity to God's law amid persecution. Celebrated as heroes, the Maccabees are seen by Ethiopian Christians as defenders of the Jewish faith against foreign dominance, their tale continuing to inspire Ethiopian Christians to this day. Another significant reason for the banning of these books was their perceived threat to Christian orthodoxy. During a crucial period of transition and consolidation, the early church needed to establish a unified doctrine to sustain the faith. As Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, diverse sects and interpretations emerged, some of which were deemed heretical by the nascent Orthodox Church. Many texts included in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, offering alternative theological perspectives, were viewed by the Western Church as potential sources of confusion or division among early Christian communities. For instance, certain texts provide differing views on the afterlife, divine judgment, and the roles of angels. The Book of Enoch, in particular, details the Watchers, the fallen angels, and the Nephilim, topics considered too speculative for developing Christian doctrine. Early church leaders aimed to keep the focus on Christ's message of salvation rather than what they regarded as speculative discussions about angels and heavenly realms. Their objective was to forge a cohesive faith, consistent across all Christian communities, which required excluding texts that presented alternative narratives or placed excessive focus on the unseen spiritual world. The significance of the Council of Nicaea and subsequent church councils cannot be overstated. They were pivotal in establishing a Christian canon aimed at providing believers with a definitive understanding of Christ's role in the history of salvation. However, in the process, they dismissed various texts that delved into spiritual mysteries, choosing to focus on the direct teachings of the gospel instead. Ethiopia, on the other hand, did not regard these texts as heretical. The Ethiopian Church viewed them as enriching, offering deeper insights into God's universal plan, including aspects like the angelic realm, the fate of fallen angels, and the apocalypse. For Ethiopians, these texts were not mere speculative additions, but valuable complements that enhanced the New Testament's portrayal of the eternal battle between good and evil. Furthermore, the impact of colonialism in sidelining the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible cannot be ignored, particularly during Italy's invasions of Ethiopia in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church and its holy scriptures were perceived as obstacles to European supremacy. To European colonizers, Ethiopia's religious autonomy and its ties to ancient Christian practices signified defiance. Ethiopia was never just a passive territory awaiting European enlightenment through missionary work. Rather, it was a nation deeply rooted in a Christian tradition that was ancient even by European standards. The Ethiopian Orthodox Bible represented a potent symbol of resistance, connecting Ethiopia directly with ancient Israel and the early Christian Church. This link was not only spiritually significant, but also politically troublesome for European colonizers. By undermining or outright banning the Ethiopian Bible, colonial powers aimed to erode Ethiopia's spiritual identity and impose Western religious ideologies. Ethiopia's steadfast resistance to colonial rule not only highlighted its status as a beacon of African independence, but also underscored its religious resilience through the preservation of its unique Orthodox Bible. This Bible, with its inclusion of texts excluded by Western canons, posed a direct challenge to the established religious order, threatening the hegemony of both Catholicism and Protestantism. The spiritual autonomy of Ethiopia, epitomized by its distinct biblical canon, indeed posed a threat to colonial forces. The suppression of the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible was a strategic move to weaken a unifying element of Ethiopian identity that was deeply intertwined with its religious convictions. This religious resistance not only preserved Ethiopia's cultural heritage, but also showcased its unique position in the world as a guardian of ancient Christian traditions, resisting the homogenizing influence of Western colonialism. Exploring the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible reveals the vast depth of spiritual knowledge contained within its texts, which were preserved due to their profound insights into spiritual realms, ancient history, and the divine workings of the cosmos. These texts, regarded as sacred in Ethiopia, offer a glimpse into the mystical and often undisclosed aspects of the spiritual world, prophecies, and eschatological events, making their preservation crucial for both historical and theological reasons. One of the most notable of these texts is the Book of Enoch, which delves deeply into the structure of the heavenly realms and the dynamics of angelic beings. Far from being a mere allegory of good versus evil, the Book of Enoch provides a meticulous account of an angelic rebellion that had significant consequences for humanity. The Book of Watchers, the initial part of Enoch, unveils the dramatic saga of 200 angels, termed the Watchers, who were tasked with overseeing human society. Contrary to their divine mission, these angels became enamored with human women, leading to their fall from grace. Under the leadership of Semjaza, these rebellious angels chose to forsake their heavenly posts, descending to earth to marry human women. This union gave rise to the Nephilim, a formidable race of giants known for their violence and corruption, marking a dark chapter in human history. This narrative not only highlights the complexities of divine law, but also sets the stage for divine judgment and the overarching themes of redemption and moral accountability in the spiritual tradition. The compelling aspect of this tale lies in the actions of the fallen angels, who did more than just defy God's commandments. They also bestowed upon humans forbidden knowledge. This included the arts of war, magic, beauty enhancement, and the study of stars, all of which distorted the divine natural order. This knowledge, transferred through the fallen angels, sowed chaos on earth. The Nephilim, born from the union of angels and humans, fueled the moral decline with their violence. Their deeds were so nefarious that God resolved to purge the earth with a great flood. Before this cleansing, God commanded the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel to seize the rebellious Watchers and imprison them in a deep abyss, there to remain until Judgment Day. These Watchers and their progeny, marked by corruption, were eradicated from the earth by God, yet their dark legacy still lingers among humanity. Would you be interested in a detailed video exploring the Book of Enoch and the angelic rebellion? Share your thoughts in the comments. In the Book of Parables, another fascinating segment of Enoch, we encounter apocalyptic visions where Enoch predicts the arrival of a Messiah, known as the Son of Man. This figure is depicted as a divine judge, destined to pass judgment on both humans and angels. Intriguingly, this Son of Man closely mirrors Jesus Christ, who is similarly titled in the New Testament. Enoch's visions describe a final reckoning where evil, including the fallen angels, is condemned to a fiery abyss while the virtuous gain eternal life. This passage vividly illustrates the ultimate confrontation between good and evil, featuring angels, demons, and humans, all facing judgment before God's throne. Another lesser explored section of Enoch, the astronomical book, unveils the mysteries of the universe. Here, Enoch learns about the divine structure of the stars, planets, and seasons, and is introduced to a solar calendar designed to align human life with the divine rhythm of creation. This part details the orchestrated movements of celestial bodies, governed by angels under God's command. It emphasizes that humans should adhere to this solar calendar over the lunar one to maintain harmony with God's design. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, adhering to this solar calendar, reflects its deep-seated origins in Enoch's teachings. Next, let's delve into the Book of Jubilees. This book is more than just a historical account. It offers a profound retelling of biblical stories from the creation of the world to the delivery of the laws at Sinai, focusing on the spiritual timeline of God's universe and the perpetual significance of his laws. Central to Jubilees is the notion that time is orchestrated by an angelic calendar. During Moses' time on Mount Sinai, God disclosed that the genuine measure of time is based on a solar cycle, not the lunar calendar that the Israelites later adopted. This solar calendar consists of a 364-day year, structured into Jubilee cycles of 49 years. The text stresses the importance of following this calendar to preserve the cosmic order God established. Why is this significant? Jubilees argues that deviating from the solar to the lunar calendar causes humanity to lose alignment with God's divine plan. The Ethiopian calendar, still used by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, adheres to this solar system, illustrating a deep-seated belief that accurate timekeeping is vital for staying in tune with the divine order. This raises provocative questions. Have we been following the incorrect calendar for centuries? Is the world misaligned with God's original design? In addition to outlining the cosmic timeline, the Book of Jubilees reveals that angels played a crucial role in the spiritual guidance of the patriarchs well before the era of Moses. These celestial beings imparted knowledge to Adam, Noah, and Abraham, teaching them how to observe the Sabbath, conduct sacrifices, and adhere to purity laws. These directives were not exclusive to the Israelites. They were elements of God's eternal law, unveiled to the virtuous from the outset. The intimate involvement of angels highlights the timeless nature of God's commandments, predating the Mosaic covenant and remaining unaltered across ages. Long before the revelations at Mount Sinai, those in communion with God practiced His laws, steered by the angels of His presence. The books of Maccabees are narratives of valiant resistance and heavenly assistance, detailing the Jewish uprisings against foreign dominations, initially in Judea under the Seleucid regime, and subsequently in Egypt under the Ptolemaic rule. Interestingly, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible includes not just 2, but 3 books of Maccabees, each providing distinct insights into maintaining faith amidst persecution. The first book chronicles the well-known Maccabean revolt. In 167 BC, when Seleucid king Antiochus IV Epiphanes enforced Hellenistic customs, supplanting Jewish religious practices, Judas Maccabeus ignited a guerrilla warfare against the Seleucid forces. His unforeseen victory, which led to the recapture and purification of the Jerusalem temple, is celebrated during the festival of Hanukkah, commemorating the oil that miraculously burned for 8 days. The second book shifts its narrative to the Martyrs, highlighting individuals who sacrificed their lives rather than forsake their devotion to God. One of the most poignant accounts involves 7 brothers and their mother who, refusing to eat pork against Jewish law, were brutally executed. Each brother, before facing death, affirmed their belief in resurrection, trusting in divine justice beyond their earthly torment. This book also recounts visions of angels and divine acts influencing the Maccabees' conflicts, affirming that their triumphs were manifestations of God's direct intervention. The third book of Maccabees transports us to Egypt, where Jews suffered under the rule of Ptolemy IV. In a harrowing episode, Ptolemy orders that the Jews be trampled by drunken elephants. However, in a miraculous twist, the elephants turn on the Egyptians instead, sparing the Jewish people from a gruesome fate. In a different vein, the Ascension of Isaiah, another text from the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, delves into mystical and apocalyptic themes. It recounts Prophet Isaiah's journey through the 7 heavens, guided by an angel. Throughout this journey, Isaiah observes the celestial battle between good and evil and is bestowed with prophecies about the Messiah's earthly mission. As he ascends, Isaiah encounters various ranks of angels and the rebellious ones, eventually reaching the 7th heaven, where he gazes upon God's throne. The text offers one of the most elaborate depictions of the heavenly hierarchy, including seraphim and cherubim, within early Christian writings. The pinnacle of Isaiah's vision is the descent of the Messiah from the 7th heaven. Isaiah witnesses the Son of God assuming human form, enduring a humble and suffering life, and eventually being executed by the forces of Satan. However, the narrative continues beyond death, depicting the Messiah's triumph over Satan, his resurrection, and his exalted return to heaven, where he reigns supreme. This visionary account not only reinforces the themes of divine victory and redemption, but also profoundly influences Christian eschatology. Now let's discuss the book of Baruch and the letter of Jeremiah. Both were composed during the time of the Babylonian exile and provide deep insights into themes like sin, repentance, and the dangers of idol worship. Baruch contains a moving lamentation for the fallen city of Jerusalem, alongside a sincere admission of the people's sins. This text clarifies that the exile was more than just a political calamity. It was a direct consequence of Israel's failure to obey God. However, Baruch also brings a hopeful message: the promise of restoration if the people turn back to God with repentant hearts. On the other hand, the letter of Jeremiah issues a strong caution against idolatry. Jeremiah ridicules the inert and powerless pagan gods of Babylon, highlighting their inability to effect any change. He advises the exiles to stay devoted to the only true God, who is the only one capable of alleviating their distress. As we delve into the profound richness of the books in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, it becomes evident that these texts are more than mere historical narratives. They encompass prophecies, spiritual insights, and admonitions that resonate not just with ancient Christian and Jewish audiences, but also with contemporary society. Indeed, many themes within these books directly address current issues and may even offer insights into future prophetic events. A notable aspect of the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible is its comprehensive portrayal of the angelic realm and the perpetual struggle between good and evil. Texts such as the Book of Enoch, the Ascension of Isaiah, and Jubilees provide detailed accounts of angelic hierarchies, fallen angels, and their impact on humanity. Why is this relevant today? The concept of a cosmic battle between good and evil persists. The notion of spiritual warfare, angels and demons influencing human affairs, remains a key component of Christian doctrine. While some may find these excluded books too mystical or speculative, they illuminate the ongoing unseen forces that continue to influence our reality. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us that our conflict is not merely with the physical, but with higher powers and spiritual evils in celestial places. Could it be that the Book of Enoch's tales of the Watchers, their defiance, and the decay they introduced to mankind still hold implications for our time? Might these ancient texts help us to better comprehend the spiritual conflicts that surround us today? Many of the excluded texts in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible are rich with prophecies concerning the end times, providing insights that correlate with biblical eschatology and contemporary events. For instance, the Book of Enoch offers detailed visions of the impending judgment day, when both humans and fallen angels will be held accountable. It vividly portrays the Son of Man executing divine judgment on the wicked, a role that Jesus is seen fulfilling in the New Testament. However, Enoch's prophecies extend further, depicting the final clash between good and evil, the defeat of malevolent forces, and the eventual re-establishment of righteousness on earth. In a similar vein, the Ascension of Isaiah presents an intense depiction of the Messiah's descent from the heavens to earth, engaging in a decisive confrontation with Satan and ultimately securing victory. These visions describe a universal conflict that transcends time, suggesting that this spiritual battle continues to evolve even today. Such narratives not only enrich our understanding of divine justice and redemption, but also reinforce the ongoing relevance of these ancient prophecies in interpreting the spiritual dimensions of current and future events. In our modern era, marked by unparalleled global conflicts, natural disasters, and spiritual turmoil, a growing number of people wonder, are we approaching the apocalypse? Some suggest that prophecies in these forbidden texts might be guiding us toward humanity's ultimate fate. Numerous experts contend that we are now in a period where the prophecies of the Bible are coming to fruition, and these previously excluded books could provide further clues about what lies ahead. Observing current events, such as wars, earthquakes, and epidemics, many find that these occurrences mirror the scenarios described in Enoch's apocalyptic visions. Furthermore, an important message in these forbidden books, particularly the Book of Jubilees, stresses the significance of adhering to God's laws. Unlike the Western Church, which drifted from the Jewish commandments crucial to early Christianity, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has preserved its strong connection to these ancient teachings. The detailed observances of the Sabbath, dietary laws, and the solar calendar as described in Jubilees highlight a profound dedication to adhering to God's commandments in their most unaltered state. These practices prompt significant reflections for today's believers. Are we aligning ourselves with God's decrees? Have we deviated too much from the core principles that were originally bestowed upon humanity? Jubilees advocates that the commandments given to Adam, Noah, and Abraham were intended to be perpetual, not transient. This introduces a stirring inquiry. Should contemporary Christians adhere to the same statutes that were imparted to the patriarchs? Has modern Christianity lost its way by drifting from the stringent adherence to God's laws? Moreover, considering the preservation of these texts in Ethiopia opens up a broader discussion. The Ethiopian Orthodox Bible is not merely a collection of sacred writings. It's a repository of texts that Western Christianity set aside. Ethiopia's role in safeguarding these texts transcends mere religious duty. It's a powerful act of spiritual resistance against colonial efforts to suppress these ancient verities. While European powers sought to extend their religious and political influence over Africa, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church stood as a bastion of opposition. The maintenance of these holy writings was more than a religious act. It was a statement of autonomy. Ethiopia preserved these biblical truths while others discarded them, suggesting that the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible may possess insights intended for preservation for such a time as this. With the globe confronting unparalleled challenges, it might be time for these concealed texts to emerge and shed light on our current circumstances. We've explored the forbidden texts of the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, delving into the mystical visions of Enoch, the profound prophecies of Isaiah, and the valiant resistance of the Maccabees. Each text uncovers mysteries and insights that provoke a re-evaluation of the Bible and the history of Christianity. Yet, these documents might be more than mere historical artifacts. They could provide crucial keys to deciphering future events. In a world grappling with uncertainty, spiritual upheaval, and escalating global conflicts, it prompts a vital question. Are we overlooking essential knowledge? Might these banned books offer us a deeper understanding of the spiritual warfare surrounding us? Could they shed light on the end times and reveal aspects of God's ultimate plan for humanity? If our journey through the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible has revealed new perspectives to you, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with others.